Well, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to build another project. This one's going to be a hanging terrarium with a solar light in the top of it. So I made a little sketch here how I kind of want this to look. So I'll bring that in and we'll take a look at it real quick. It's going to be hanging on a 45-degree angle. So it's going to be right here from tip to tip right here. It's going to be 10.5 inches. Up to where the flat part's going to be, it's going to be 8.5. And where the flat part is at is where our solar light will go. We're going to use the same one we've used for a lot of our projects. This is the top off the stake that goes in the garden or in the back patio somewhere. It has a solar panel on the top of it, the single source lights underneath, and that'll sit here in this top part right here. And it'll illuminate this area down here where we're going to build the pocket where we'll have our flowers coming out of it, or we're going to put real live plants in here. They're either succulents or maybe even get a plant that has some color to it. So we'll figure that out later as we go along. So the top part across here where the solar lantern is going to go is going to be 1.25 inches right across here. That'll give me some room to let that hide, so when it's hanging you won't see it. We'll have a hanger on, 2 hangers, one on each side of the here. They'll come together and make a point with the for our chain, and we'll use a single chain to go off of it. So down here we're going to put a couple little gussets in here that'll help give us some support for our project. So I think it should turn out pretty nice. The sides that are going to come down, I've got them drawn up here a little bit. For the short side, the 8.5 inch side, they're going to be 3 inches wide. They're going to be 3, 1, a ½ inch, 1, and here again 3. And we'll just cut those. We're going to use all of our little gadgets we use to cut with. We're going to use our 3 inch, which actually comes out to be about 3 1/8. We're going to use, here again, we're going to use this angled aluminum that I use as a ruler, ½ inch across here, 3/4 against here. Our cutter up here will add about 1/16 of an inch to it. So we'll use that to cut these ½ inch strips. And then we're going to use another plastic ruler, this one right here, for our 1 inch strip. So this is going to be all real easy straight cuts. These little rulers, by the way, my wife is a quilter, and so when she gets them to a point where she can't use them, she gives them to me because they make great straight edges for your cutter to follow. So if you're a quilter and you're into stained glass also, when your rulers get banged up or something, bring them out and use them in the shop for your leaded glass. Or if you know quilters who have some that are laying around they're not using, that's a good source for a nice straight edge. Up at the top here, this is where the solar light's going to go. It's going to be 3 inches across by 2 3/4, and so that's how that'll fit in there. You could break this up any way you want to. You could actually make these all just solid pieces of glass if you wanted to. So you can make this as complicated or as simple as you like, and that's kind of up to you. So let's push all this stuff away here, and we'll go ahead and we'll get ready to draw this up. But before we do that, let's take one more look at this piece right here. This is where our pocket's going to be, where we're going to have we'll put our planting soil in here, and that's going to look a little bit like this. So that'll make our 45 here. It'll be 4 3/4 inches high. It's going to have 1 1/4 triangle on the ends here, a ½ inch strip, a 2 inch strip, and then another ½ inch strip right here. And that'll make the pocket where we'll plant our plants in. So I know this looks like a little confusing, but when we get started, it'll make more sense. The first thing we'll do is, after we get it drawn up, is we'll come back and we'll make us a 90-degree frame so we can form these up. We'll want to make them all exactly the same width, so when they go together they'll line up the way we want them to line up. So anyway, let's push this stuff away and we'll get ready and we'll draw this thing up for you. So we don't need any of this stuff right here right now. This is a pretty big project. So down here at the bottom, we're just going to take and we're going to draw us just a baseline. I'm going to draw this out fairly light to start with, because we're going to I'll take my felt tip pen and we'll draw an up line right here. Here again, I'm just going to draw it long because I don't know where this is going to quit. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take our 45-degree triangle. That's this one right here. we're going to bring it in here, and we're going to go right here on point. Right here, we're going to make an up line like that. Going to come over here, we're going to make an up line like this. And we said these are going to be 10.5 inches long, so we'll just move that out of the way for right now. Come up here and we'll measure them. 10.5 is right there. And we'll do the same here, 10.5. Okay, make these measurements as accurate as you can, because that'll show you how your project's going to turn out. If you just kind of make them, well, that's close enough, you're going to have trouble putting this together. So now these are going to go back here. Pull that out just a little bit so it can go to our top of our center line here. Make sure your T-square and everything's back up against your backstop so you can get to make the point here. Bring this over. Make sure that goes down. These 2 points here should line up with each other. That point right there and this point right here. If you've got it square, they'll line up together. Okay, so that does that right there. So now we're going to cut this top part off here. And we said we're going to cut it off at 2 3/4. So 2 3/4, half of 2 3/4 is going to be 1 3/8 of an inch. So we can just take and stick this in here at 1 3/8 of an inch. That's right here. We can mark this right here. And then we can take our square, our carpenter square, bring it over here. We can bring this down. We can draw this is where we're going to cut this off. And we said we're going to make it 1 1/4 high. So that comes down here like that. We're going to take and draw it across here. So that takes care of that part. This part here we don't need. That part's going to be gone. So we'll make it gone right now so we don't get confused on what we're doing here. Get that out of the way. I think I'll leave a break in the middle here, probably make it get a little stronger. So this is where our solar light's going to go. It's going to go right here in the top, just like that. Okay. Now down here we said we're going to have a couple gussets. They're going to be 1 1/4, so we'll just mark them here, 1 1/4. Come over here at 1 1/4. Bring our carpenter square down. Bring that down, take and turn this over. Line that right up there. Okay, now down at the bottom here, we said 4 3/4. So let's put our ruler in here. We're going to come up here to 4 3/4. This will be our pocket for our planter. Here again, I'm going to use the edge of the carpenter square for a straight edge. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw this across here. And we're just going to come right here, just like that. In the middle here, we said we're going to put a couple things, a couple gussets here. So we said 1 1/4 here. So there's 1 1/4. So I'm keeping these measurements all simple, so it'll be easy to follow along. This one here is going to just pull down here, 1 1/4, 1 1/4. In the middle, we said we're going to do 2 inches, so we'll split this at 1 and 1, 1 and 1, and then we're going to add a 1/2 inch on each side for a couple little down pieces, just for some color. So these are going to go like this. This will come down to here. Here again, you can make this as simple or complicated as you want. You could put a solid piece of glass in here if you would like. We're just going to throw this in here because, like I said before, we're making this out of scrap glass. So pieces that I have laying around that we can get enough size out of. We're just going to cut them up and put them in here. Okay, so that's our project. We won't have anything in the middle here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go offline real quick, and I'll take and blacken this in with my my Sharpie felt tip pen. That'll give us an idea where our lead lines are at. And then we'll come out. Then when we come back, we're going to take and we're going to make us a 90-degree form, 3 inches wide, and we're going to build all the panels out there. We'll bring the cutting board over and we'll cut some glass real quick to show you how to do that too. So I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so we're back here. So I've inked this all in now. So this shows you where our lead lines are going to be. So now you can see where the solar light's going to sit in here. So this part of the solar light will be hidden. You won't see it. All you'll see is the light illuminating this area down in here. So anyway, the next thing we're going to do, I'll give you some dimensions real quick if you're interested in trying this one here. And you can make it any size you want. These are just numbers that I thought might look like a nice size. So from here to here, that's 10.5 inches. Both of these are 10.5. From here up to here is 8.5 inches. From here to here, 8.5. Across the top here, 2 3/4. This one here comes out to be 5 inches right here. This one right here is 1 3/4. I'm sorry, 1 1/4 right here. 1 1/4 right here. This is 1 1/4, 1 1/4. Then we got a 1/2 inch, a 2 inch, a 1/2 inch. This is going to be just by itself, and this will be another 1 1/4. This line, by the way, here, we're going to take that out. We're going to leave that as a solid line. So let's take that out of there. I shouldn't have inked that one in. So that one will come out. This one up here, we are going to leave this one in here because right here, we're going to put 2 hangers. So then we'll end up with a chain that's going to go off like this to here. It'll have a ring on it, and then it'll go on off here. So, I want to make that as stiff as possible right there. The gussets right here, that'll help strengthen these right here, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to cover this drawing up. We're not going to use this only when we get ready to make this part right here. I'm going to cover this up, put another sheet on here, and then we're going to build a form right over the top of this to make our pieces now, which will be the 3-inch wide ones to make these down pieces. So we'll be back in a minute, and I'll get that made. Okay, so I'm back here. I got my cut board right here. I use this board to cut my glass with. It's got a backstop on it here. Down at this end here, it just got a 90-degree angle. So we're going to set that in here right like that. It's just made out of a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. We'll set that in there like that. I just taped down a piece of white paper here so it photographs better. Normally I would just cut on the surface of itself. So before we build our form for our 3-inch wide pieces here, we're going to cut the glass. The reason we're not going to build the forms right now is because we're going to do, this is another one of those cut and stack things that I do. I'm going to just use fixed rulers, and I'm going to use the glass cutter. Here again, remember, it adds to each cut. So the wheel is right here, the cutting scoring wheel. So it's going to add like a 1/16 of an inch on there. So by cutting the glass first for this project, when we start to, we'll build a 90-degree angle on our form, and then we'll stack it out, and that'll tell us how big to bring our last down piece on it. So the first thing we're going to do for the main body of this, we're going to use this green, this one right here, this green glass right here. And then for for the 1-inch pieces right here, we're going to use this white Ripley glass here. And then for this little tiny strip, we're going to use a zinger color, something really bright in there. So that'll be the 3 colors we're going to use. Here again, most of this is a scrap glass that we have for bigger projects. So this is the color we're going to use right here. So the first thing we're going to do, you know, it just has a grain running up and down. It's not sideways, but it's up and down. So we'll use that grain to our advantage, and we'll cut this into a 3.5-inch piece right here. So going to cut it on the smooth side right here. Just take your ruler or what you're using. If you don't have a 3-inch ruler, if you got 3 1-inch rulers or a 2-inch ruler or whatever you've got, that works good. Go ahead and put it in here. We're just going to take this and we're just going to take our cutter right here. We're just going to pull it down. You can push it down or pull it on. You can take and pop that apart like that. So that's our 3 inches. We're going to cut all these green ones at 3 inches right here. So we'll just take and do that right here. Just like that. If you're going to do it with your hand, you take your thumbs on each side of the score sheet, take your index finger on the back side, and just push it down to pop it away. Okay, so now that's going to be for these larger pieces here. So now for these guys right here, we're going to just do it again. We're going to create a 1-inch piece here. This one here is kind of dirty. I'll wipe it off a little bit. Okay, this is the rough side here, so we want to cut this side right here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and square this up a little bit because this is going all crooked here. So I'm going to just use my mechanical square right here. I'm going to set this in here like that. Take that off. Now for this one here, because it's so close to the edge right here, you can snap that by hand. In this case, I'm going to use my running pliers. That's these little guys right here. If you're not familiar with it, they're concaved right here. So right where the mark is right here, you put that on the score line, and you just line it up on the score line, and you just give it a little pressure, and it takes and it'll snap your glass for you. That piece goes to the trash. Then what we're going to do, we're going to turn this around, set it in here. We're probably just going to need one of these because we're going to cut it into 1-inch pieces. We're going to need 8 of those 1-inch pieces. So this is longer than 8 inches. So we'll just cut that. This is an oil-fed cutter. They make all kinds of cutters like this. This one here, for some reason, over the years, has stopped feeding the oil. So I have a little cup that I have cutting oil in, and I just take and dip it. So you want to keep that in mind. That helps the scoring wheel roll. It also helps lubricate the cut. You can just take and you can cut it this way. Here again, we can take that one, reach in here. If it's better do it over on this side. And we'll take and snap that. So now we got that one done. And now we need to get our zinger color here. So that's this one right here. I've got another little piece of that, so maybe we'll start with this one. Trying to find out which is, that's not very square there either. That'll be all right. That'll be okay right there. Take and stick that in there. You can push or pull your cutter. It doesn't make any difference. Take and snap it. Okay, so we got all our pieces now. All right, we're back. We got all our pieces cut to the 3-inch width. That's we use this ruler right here to do that. So now we're going to cut the smaller pieces. So our zinger color, which is this kind of a purple color, we're just going to put it in here just like this, and we're going to use our angle aluminum here with the 1/2-inch side right here. Just going to take and hold that right like that. Just take our cutter up against the edge here, score it, and we're going to take our running pliers here, and we're just going to pop us a couple pieces off. We're going to need 4 of these, so we'll just cut a couple more right here. There we go. Now for the white one, this is it right here. This has already been cut for the 3 inches. On the smoother side, we're going to take and we're going to cut that. We're going to make that a 1-inch. Whoops, better do it the right way. Going to make that a 1-inch right here. So we're just going to take and cut that. This one here you can snap by hand, or if you want to, you can use your running pliers, whichever you feel safer with. running pliers here, just pop it like that. And we're going to need 8 of these. So I thought that one piece might be long enough, but apparently it's not going to be. I've got some already cut here, 2, 4. Now we're going to be a little bit short. So we'll just take and we'll cut another 3-inch strip right here. Just bring it down, cut it here, take and hold it. And we'll get the last one. We just need 8. That's not going to work too good. Let's get the right ruler here. There we go. Okay, so that gives us our 8 white ones. We got our zingers. I already cut all the green ones the same way, so they're right here. So we got 4 that are 4 inches. I had to change the design just a little bit. These I didn't have quite enough glass, so these were going to be 3 inches. They're only 2 3/4 now. So what we'll do is we'll add some spacing on here. We may have to come back and maybe on our zinger color or on our white one here, we may have to come back, cut some new ones, and add some more to it to make them come out to 8.5 on the final cut. So we'll figure out how we're going to do that when we get going. So I'll let you know what we decide to do. All right, we'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back really quick here. I just wanted to show you how this is all going to go together. So we're going to start with a green one. Then we'll have a white one. We're going to do a zinger, a white one, and another green one. That one there will make our long panel, which is going to be, we said it was going to be 10.5, so we'll see what it came out to be now with our glass cutter and so forth. So now we're at 11 inches, so it's going to be a little bit longer by the time we get our lead put in there. So I may take a look at it. If I decide I don't like it quite that long, it doesn't seem like 11 inches is going to make any difference whether it's 10.5 or 11. So we'll probably just leave it like that. And then the shorter one is going to be like this. It's going to be here, here again, your white one, your zinger, a white one, and this one here. This is going to be a little bit short because this is the one that we wanted to go to 11.5 or 8.5, I'm sorry. So that's pretty close. So this one here, we might cut this down a little bit. May cut a 1/4 inch off of these green ones here to kind of close that up a little bit. That's a little bit too long for what we want to do. So we'll work on that and clean that up so we get it to the size that we want it. Then from there, we'll go ahead and start to build our form, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put them together. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, I'm back for a real quick change here. If you remember just a little bit earlier, I said that because we're making this out of scrap glass, when I cut the 3-inch pieces here, I didn't have enough glass. So now these are going to be 2 3/4 inches, both of these. And we looked at the 4-inch pieces. That throws this off proportionally. So what we did is I cut these back to 3 3/4 inches each. That way, that keeps the same gap that we had before, so that when we come up the side here, it'll come up to the right point to make for our solar light to go in here. If we left these at 4, these would be too long and you'd get an odd looking shape out of it. Instead of being on a square on point, it would be kind of flattened out. So I just wanted to make that clear. So we have changed it already. This is one of the nice things about your own design and doing the cut and stack thing. If you're working with limited pieces of glass, just go ahead and change it around until you can make your glass work for you. So that's what we're going to do. No longer 3, it's going to be 2 3/4. No longer 4, it's going to be 3 3/4. So we'll come back on the next video. We're going to build our 90-degree frame, and we'll start to stack these all in here with our U-came and our H-came across. We'll solder those up. That won't take very long. So we'll make 2 like this, 2 like this. We'll make 1 like this. And this one here is going to be real easy. This one's basically going to be just be U-came all the way around. I'm going to show you a little trick here. I'm going to fill in the backside of the U-came with a real small piece of zinc cane that they make. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. So the inside edge of this will be filled off. And this will be the part that will increase the distance here to make these two match up with this one. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. We got all our pieces cut here now. So now we're going to make our form. So we're going to do just like we've done in a lot of the other videos. We're going to build a form right here to stack this glass all in. So we'll push these all out of the way right now. We don't need these. We've got enough pieces here to make all 4 of the side pieces. So we're going to start right down here at the bottom. And we're just going to take and we're going to use our little wire brads here again. And we're just going to take and we're going to tack this down. Here again, we're building on top of our homosoit board. It's a sound deadening product, and it's very dense. It allows you to use the push pins to hold your projects tight. We're using our carpenter square here to create the 90-degree angle right here. So we're just going to take another piece of our form wood. I'm going to just take and push it in here just like that. Unlike some of the other projects, we don't need to leave a gap open right here because it's not going to have a hanger on it. We're going to put the hanger in between the 2 units when we get them together. So I'll show you how to do that. Make sure this is pushed up tight. We want it to be sure it's straight. And we'll put one more right here at the top. Okay, now, right here at the top here, we'll get out our U-came here. That's this one right here. Let me get this out of the way real quick. Move this out of the way. Get our lead dikes. And we'll take and we'll cut off the pointed area here so it's straight. This is the U-came. This makes the letter U. This is RU70. So use this on all the projects. We're going to set it right in here. We don't know exactly how long this is going to be, so we're going to cut this about right here for right now. And we'll come back in a minute and we'll figure out how long to make this. Okay, so right there, we're going to take this one here. We're going to cut it on a 45. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this a little bit right here. And we know that this outside edge is going to be at least 10 1/2. So here again, we're going to cut this straight. So I'm going to make this like 11 1/4 because I want it to stick over the top there. It shouldn't grow any more than that. Take and cut this right here. And we'll take and we'll put a 45 on it here. Get these little chips out of the way. This is going to go down in here just like this. The 45 to come together to make our joint right here. We're going to use our push pins here. So we'll just dump out a couple of them here. Going to push one down here at the end. And we'll put one down here for right now. Okay, so we'll build one of the long ones to start with. So we're going to start here with a piece of our green glass. We want to put the good side up. It's going to sit in here like this. Push it all the way over, like that. If you have one that you think is not going seating all the way, be sure to make sure that you got it set all the way back in there so you don't have it sitting out a little bit. So be sure it's all the way back in here. Now, across here, we're going to run the H-came. And the H-came makes the letter H. That's this one right here. This one's RH9, this particular one. And it's going to go across here. And we're going to mark it here. Right about there. We're going to cut this a little bit on the short side, because remember, we're going to have another piece of U-came running up the top here. Okay, after we get our first piece in here, we're going to take and we're going to pin this like this. And then we're going to take another piece of our U-came. We're going to set it in here. We'll get this, cut this end off here. We don't need that. We're going to set it in here like this. Pull it down. Here again, we're going to use another piece of our form wood right here. We're going to take our carpenter square and we're going to move it over here on this side now. You can see this piece here is way too long. So what we're going to do, we're going to measure right here. That shows us how long to make that piece right there. We can just pull this out real quick, and we're going to take and we're going to cut this. We'll cut it down to 45. We'll set it back in here. We'll set this piece back in here. Here again, make sure it's seated all the way. Put our H-came in here. We're going to hold it in place with a couple pins here. Now we're going to take this piece of U-came right here and we're going to cut it on a 45 also. Just like that. It's going to come down here. It's going to make a 45 right here. Now we're going to set our piece of form wood in here. Going to put it in here. It's pretty close to touching right here, but it's going to be all right. We're going to pull this up, but we're not going to pull it up super tight. We don't want to. We want this to be able to be moved in and out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a pin here and I'm going to stick it right here, so it doesn't move our square. I'm going to take these out of here, and I'm going to move this up and down a little bit to make sure that this is going to move in and out here. It's a little bit tight right there, so I'm going to pull this out just a little bit, so we can get that to go up and down. There we go. So that'll move over. Then I'm going to, rather than nail this down here, I'm going to use my pins. And I'm going to just go ahead and pin this right here. Make sure it's straight. Push the pins down good. I have a little socket wrench right here. This is about, maybe I'm going to say 5/16 across. It goes over the top of these pins, just perfect to push them down, just like that. Now this should slide up out of here. We want it to be tight though. We don't want it to pinch it, but we don't want the glass to be rattling around in here. So this is going to push out of here just like that. That's perfect. So we'll bring this back down now. Bring this out. Pull this down. We'll start right at the top here. We'll set it in here. Pull your first piece down. Make sure it's seated all the way up against here. If you're not sure if it's seated up here, take your pin, mark it here like this. Because if it's not seated and you start down here, you're going to mess up the whole thing here. Then push it out, and it should have at least like about a 3/16 of an inch gap on it, which you can see it does. So that's down all the way. Now, here we're going to put our piece of H-came in here, and we're gonna need 1, 2, 3 more pieces of this. So since we know this is a good size right here, we're just going to take and we'll cut us 3 more of these. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to just cut the flat side here, and I'm just going to hold it in here like this. You have to cut off the 45 that it cuts. Pull it in here like this. Cut it. And we need 1 more. And you want to make these joints nice and tight. You don't want them to have a lot of play back and forth in them. That one there is probably a little bit too long. Yeah, it is. So you want them to go in here nice and tight. Okay, so now by our drawing here, it says we're going to run a 3 3/4, and then we're going to run a 1, a half, and a 1, and a 3 3/4. So we'll take one of our 1-inch pieces. Make sure you got the nice side up, the pretty side up. Set it in here. Work its way down, all the way down in. Tap it in, make sure it's going to be in good. That one's a little bit too long also. You'd rather cut them a little bit long because you can trim them back. If you cut them too short to start with, you're in trouble. Okay, now we're going to take our zinger. Make sure you got the pretty side up on it again. It's going to sit in here. That's our kind of our accent color. It's going to go in here like that. That's going to go in there like that. We need another piece of the white. Make sure the good side's up again. See how nice and tight that fits in there? That's how you want it to fit. You don't want a lot of slop in here because the pieces will move around, and we're not going to glaze these panels, so you don't want a lot of movement. You want just a little bit too long. Just trim just a little bit off with your lead dikes. There, okay, and now we're going to take our last 3 3/4 inch right here, pretty side up again. Pull it in here. And across the top here now, we're going to run another piece of our U-came. So let me find a piece here and we'll go from there. It looks like we're going to have to cut something here real quick. I got it right here. Pull it off. These little marks you see on it right here, this is from stretching it. By the way, some people have asked me about stretching. Yes, you need to stretch your lead cane. It helps to stiffen it just a little bit, and it gives it a little bit more strength. So we're going to cut this off right here. We can take and measure this. It's going to be 2 7/8 is what we need. So we'll just take and stick this in here like this. I'll come over here at 2 7/8, kind of hold it with my finger right here. And we can just take and trim it. This piece is going to go in here like that. That's a little bit too long. Trim it tight. There we go. It goes just like that. Right here, we're going to put a little piece of form wood right at the end here. Let me go get one real quick. Let me go offline here real good and get it. All right, I got it. After you play with these projects for a while, you start to collect little pieces. So this little piece is going to go in here like this. I am going to take my hammer and just tap it just a little bit to make sure everything's down tight. And I'm going to take my T-square here. I'm going to set it on here, and I want to be sure that it stayed square, which it did, okay? So right here, we're going to take and we're going to pin this down. Get one more pin in it. Just like that. And that makes our first panel. So that's the first panel that runs down the side here. That's our 10.5-inch panel right now. And with all the lead in it, let's see where it went to. It's 10.5, 10 5/8 just about. So it stayed pretty close. So the lead pieces in here added just enough to push it out just a little bit. Okay, from here now, I got my soldering iron plugged in, so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to solder that up right now, kind of clean off some of this mess right here. Get that out of the way. We can move our square out of the way also. We don't need that anymore. Set that aside. We'll get some flux. We'll get our solder. Come over here and put that right there. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm going to use a little stainless steel brush here. I'm going to brush up all the joints here. The soldering iron I'm using is a Waller 100 with a 700-degree tip. I like that one because the tip regulates the temperature of the melting point, and that works nice for our 60-40 solder. So what we'll do, we'll just sit down here. You notice I left these ends running off here. We're going to trim those up at the end. We're going to fold them over, and we're going to sand these all shut. So we'll do that real quick. So right here, we're just going, make sure these are pushed down too, by the way. Make sure these are down tight here. Just going to brush off. You can see that it's kind of shining up the metal. Sometimes your fingers have a little oil in them. If the lead's been sitting out for a long, long time, it starts to oxidize just a little bit, and it makes it a little bit harder to solder. I'm going to just take a brush here and going to take and flux all of our joints here, just like that. And I usually take my solder, I usually cut it off the roll until the roll gets about halfway done, because they get pretty heavy when you're working with them. And I like to be able to hold the lead down, or the solder down flat against the lead. So what we're going to do, take our iron, we're going to just take and tin it just a little bit. And I'm going to start right here. I'm going to hold this down, and I'm just going to touch it. Soldering is a technique that you practice, and then you get a technique that you like. There's a whole bunch of videos all about soldering. You can try some of them and see where you're at. This one here kind of sucked in right there. Go ahead and just put a little bit more on it. I try to make these beads all about the same. I'm taking about a 1/16 of an inch off of the end of this. So that makes the project look a little bit nicer if they're all fairly close. By using a 700-degree tip on this, I'm not in danger of burning a hole through the lead. If you use a hotter iron, you probably should use a rheostat on your soldering iron so you can control the temperature out. Okay, so that's it. We got that all taken care of now. So we're going to take these guys out. And this is going to be our first panel. This will be the first down panel for our project. As far as these sides over on this side here, when we put it together, we're going to leave all these edges open here so that when we go to put the top in here and the gussets and so forth, it won't interfere with any of the soldering joints, because that's how they're going to go together. And these will go together on a 45 coming off of here. So I don't want to have any solder joints. I want the edges to be able to just kiss so there's no gaps in them. So this side here we won't solder until we get it all put together. So up here at the top, we're going to take, here again, we're going to take our dikes. We're going to take and cut this about 1/4 of an inch up. We're going to come in here and we're going to trim it on each side. And I'm going to cut it here to a point. And all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to bend it down into the open gap, into this open area right here. And what that does, that helps me when I go to solder this. I don't have to have a big amount of solder to close that up. I'm just going to take it on the edge of my work table. I'm going to push it down, and here's what it did. See, it closed that off. You don't have to do that. You can cut these off straight. It's a little bit more work to try to get them to solder because all you've got underneath there is glass. Obviously, the solder won't stick to the glass, so it makes it a little more difficult to fill that in. And I want to fill that in because I don't want any open gaps in the project. So we're going to take and here again, make it into a point like that. I'm going to go on the edge of the work table, roll it over. If you have one that's kind of sticking out like that a little bit, take your little wooden block right here and just hold it right here and just push that back in here. We want these to be even, just like that. Okay, now to hold this up here, I need some way to hold this up here to solder these shut. If you watch my other videos, I'm using a drill vise. You could use a couple pieces of 2x4. Some other kind of clamp that you could use to hold that up with would be fine. But in our case, we're going to use our drill vise. I've had this for probably about 60 years or so, so it's been well used. And I'm just going to tighten it up just enough to hold it up straight. Push this up a little bit more so you can see what we're doing. We're going to take these two areas right here. We're going to flux them. I'm going to take here and solder this shut. Just like that, just a little bit more. Just like that. You could leave those like that if you wanted to. I'm going to sand them down on an 80 grit sandpaper. The paper I use is it's the sanding disc you buy at the local hardware store. They're about 6 inches in diameter, and they have an adhesive back on them. So I just pull the adhesive back off and stick it down to the top of my table. This one here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to close it off also. This little gap right here. Right there. This one here now is on the side here, so we're going to set this on the edge so that we can get to it. When you tighten this up on here, don't tighten it too tight because you'll break your glass, so be careful with it. Whoops, not quite enough. There. Okay, so that's the panel. We got one panel done. I'll go offline and make all the rest of these panels. If you have a soldering joint that looks a little bit like this one here, that's probably all right. It's kind of sucked down just a little bit. It's okay. What I'm going to do, I'll take this over on the sandpaper. I'm going to round this off and chamfer the edges, and this panel will be done. So we'll make one more just like this one, and then we'll come back and we'll make the shorter ones, and then we'll show you how we're going to put this all together. After we make the two shorter ones, we'll also make the one where the solar light's going to go. And like I said before, that's just going to be made out of U-cane. It's not going to have any glass in it whatsoever. So I'll shine these up real quick and wash them up. And when I come back, we'll show you what the finished product looks like. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back now. We got it all cleaned up here. So you can see what we did to the edges here. We rolled them all over and smoothed them off. Came out real nice. So I think it's going to be a very attractive terrarium. On the back side, as I said before, we didn't solder any of these. We want to keep these all clean across here because when they go together, we want the panels, when they sit in here like this, we want them to touch, just kiss along this edge right here so that we don't have any gaps in them. If you have solder joints right here, it'll push it away and you'll end up with a, if you can see between my fingers there, you'd have like an air gap in there. We don't want that to happen. So I'll go offline. I'm going to build these, one more of these, and then I'll build the short one. And then I'm going to come back on. We'll build the top part that goes for the solar lantern. And then we'll show you how we put these together. Then we'll come back in and we'll put all the inside pieces together that fit inside here. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. So we'll be back in a little while. Okay, well, we're back. We got all of our outside panels done now. So these are our two long ones here. They'll go on the bottom. And these are the two that'll come together like this on the bottom to form the bottom part of it. This is why we didn't solder down here, because these two are going to be soldered together on a 45 like that. And these two here are the top ones. These are the two that are going to create the area which is going to be above here, where we're going to have our solar light. And they'll be on a 45-degree angle also. So We got them all finished on the edges and so forth, so they're all done. So we'll just set them aside. And now we need to build the top part of this. And this is this part of the drawing right here. It's going to be 3 inches across to match that, and then it's going to be 2 3/4 high. So I've already cut some lead here, so we'll stick it in here, and I'll show you what we're going to do with it. So here's our lead pieces right here. So I'm going to do a little bit of a trick here. I'm going to put those in here. I've cut these all on a 45 so that they'll create the area that we want. So that creates the area right there that we want. And then our solar panel will sit down in here. That's how we're going to make room for the solar panel. The only problem with this, it's not really a problem, but I'm going to do something to it, is that the U-came is exposed open here. And I don't particularly like that. So I'm going to close that off. And there's a product that's made. It's called it's a zinc product, and it's called ZU130. It's an 1/8 inch zinc came, and it looks like this. It's quite small. It's used primarily when people want to make like jewelry boxes, or they want to make little hanging terrariums. And it has an 1/8 inch channel through here. It's 1/8 inch across here and 1/8 inch across the back of it. This just happens to fit inside of our U-came here. So I've got a couple of short ones here, and I've got a couple of long ones here. And the way this works is you just take it upside down here, and you set it in here in your channel, and you just push it down in here. And that's going to create, now that close that edge off there, so we don't have that anymore. So that one's going to go right here. Here again, we're going to take it and we're going to turn it over. Set it right in here. Just take and push it down in there like that. It just cleans it up a little bit, makes it look a little bit nicer. And these two here are going to go here in the sides. And they're just going to take and they push in like that. And we're going to take and push these in here. Push it in just like that. So now we've got all our front sides closed off. So these are sitting here like this. This goes in here like this. That one there is sticking out just a little bit. If you have one that's sticking out just a little bit, you can take a file and file that off just a little bit. Let me go offline real quick and I'll file this one off right here. All right, we're back. I took a look at all of them. They all needed to be filed back just a little bit. You don't want it to stick over your 45 here because that'll push it out and you won't get a nice tight fit. So I just went over all of them and made sure that they were all good the way we want them. So we'll try this again. So we'll go in here. This one's going to go down in here like that. See, we have a nice fit there now. This will come down and make another nice fit right here. And then we have it go across the top here. Just like that. Okay, so we're going to put our little block of wood in here. Push that down tight. Put a couple pins in it here to hold it. We're going to get our little T-square out here and make sure that this is, I'll move this real quick right here. Make sure this is square, which it is right there. That's fine. So now what we're going to do here, we're going to head and solder these shut. So this will be where our solar light. So if you can visualize this, this is where the top of our our terrariums at. So this light would be normally be upside down, and these two small panels here will go here, and we'll go here to make our 45 to finish it off. And that's how we're going to get our light in here. So anyway, as we move along, the area that we build across here, that'll be this area right here. This area that we're talking about right here, that will hide the solar light. So that'll be down here below. So we'll build that, and we'll build the bottom part as soon as we get this done. So we're going to just take this, and we're going to flux it up here, knock off any sharp edges here. We're going to take and flux it up, and we're going to take and solder this shut. So as we make all these pieces, you can see the project is going to start to take form here, and it makes a little bit more sense. That looks good right there. We'll just take and wipe down our flux a little bit. If you have one little guy like that, you can just take your lead dikes, goes flat side in here, and you can pick that off just like that. Take and pick it off. Now this side here, we're not going to solder this side yet until we put these panels together. But see, now you can see how nice this looks. So now these edges are all closed off in here. I'll probably come in right after we get this on here and solder here, 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 and right here. So that makes our area for our solar light. So this will be right at the top of our project. Our solar panel will be sitting in here just like this. So then our down legs will come down to here to make our 45. So we'll be back in a minute, and we'll get a little jig set up to go ahead and put the panels together, and then we'll put this one into the top one, and then we'll get ready to build our filler pieces. That'll be the filler pieces will be these guys right here. This one here, and our two gussets, and we'll put those in our project. And the main filler piece, which is down at the bottom, our planter area, that's this one right here. We'll build it on a 45 so that it'll just fit in to our project. So we'll be back in a minute. We'll get this all set up, and then we'll go from there. All right, well, we're back with our original drawing now. We got all our sides made. So now we're going to need to make these guys here. We need 2 of these. We need 4 of these. And we need 2 of these. So right here, I changed this a little bit. I didn't think that our pocket was quite deep enough, considering we're going to put real succulents or a real plant in here. So I have increased it here. So the original drawing that we did, we said it was going to be 4 3/4 high. I moved that up to another 1/2 inch to 5 1/4. So that'll push that up a little bit to give us a little bit more room for our plant, whatever we put in here. So what we're going to do now, we're going to build us a form on a 45 here. And we're here again, we're going to use some of our little form wood. We're going to use our 45-degree triangle. We're going to set it in here. We're going to take our form wood. We're going to set it right here. Pull it in here. Right about there. We're going to leave this, let it hang off the end here, because we'll let the cane go off the end, and then we'll take and finish it off by taking and sanding it down on a 45, because it's going to slide inside these. So we'll get a couple brads here. We'll put this down. I'll put one more right here. So now we're going to take this and we'll just take and turn it over. Come over on this side. I'm going to do the same thing here. That ought to work right there. We'll take and tack this down. So the form here will give us a true 45 to build this on, so it doesn't get all out of shape. Oh, that didn't work too good. So now when we build this piece right here, even though we're building it against the outside edges, when we slide it down in, if it's really a true 45, it'll fit into the edges that we've made. So along this edge here, we're going to use that smaller U-came. This is the one that we talked about before. This is RU90. It's only 1/8 of an inch across the edge. If you're going to try this project, you don't have any of that, you can go ahead and use your RU70 in here. It just pushes it out just a little bit more. So this will go in here. It'll be cut on a 45, and we'll take and trim it here. And then we're going to use the RU70 across the top of it there. So we're going to have a color here, here and here. Probably our zinger colors here, and then something in the middle here. So again, like I said, we're making this out of scrap glass. So whatever I have that'll line up and look like it belongs to this project, we'll go ahead and use it. So we'll be back. We'll get the lead out and get it stretched and get it ready to go in here, and then we'll come back and we'll cut some pieces to put in here, and we'll show you how that goes together. So we'll be back in a minute. Come back in here real quick for just 1 second. After you get your form in here, if you want to confirm that you've got a true 45, you just take your 45-degree triangle and just set it in here, and it should sit in perfectly tight right here, and it should be straight across the edge here. So that's just a good way to confirm that this is exactly where you want it. If it sits up here like this, you don't want to go ahead and continue, because that'll throw your corners off when you get ready to put it together. So you can just use your triangle to check it and make sure that you have the 45 that you're looking for. All right, we'll go offline, cut some lead for this, and then we'll come back in and put some pieces of glass in here, and we'll get ready to make this project, or this part of the project right here. So I'll be back in a second. All right, well, we're back here. We got all our pieces cut here now. So we deviated away from our original drawing here because, as I said before, we're making this all out of scrap glass, and so some of these pieces weren't large enough, so we had to go find some more. So anyway, we're going to start to build this right here, and we're going to use this is our U-came. This is the RU90. It's the small one. It's only 1/8 of an inch across here. So they're both cut on a 45-degree angle. Kind of make sure they're straight here a little bit. They're going to sit in here like this. Going to come down just like this. It'll make a 45 right here at the bottom. Get it lined up where you want it. That looks good. Take a couple of little push pins here. We'll push in here. Just like that. And we're going to start right here at the top here. And we're going to take our first piece here. And we're going to set it in here. Whoops, you don't want to do that. I'm going to set it in here. And we're going to pull it up to our line right here. Right there. Then we're going to bring our next piece of our H-came. This is our RH9 right here. It's got an angle cut on it right here, so you can see it's going to go in here like this. That one might be just a little bit too long here. Yeah, a little bit too long. Let's check this right here. Take a piece of our our U-came here. It's going to go across the top. Make sure this is where it's supposed to be here. There we go. Take and pin that like that. This one here is going to go in here like this. Still just a little bit too long. So we'll just take and trim it just a little bit. Okay, our white piece is going to go in here like this. These should all start to line up here at the top. all set in here. Put this piece of H came in here. This is one of the ones we substituted for. This is a nice, it's a dark green. It has a iridescent on it. So that's going to go in here. Here again, this is another fun thing about the cut and stack idea. If you got a lot of scrap glass laying around and you just want to change up whatever you thought you were going to use the first time, you can do it. Makes it come out very nice. Okay, that comes down there like that. If you get a bunch of them going here, if you're afraid somebody's going to get away from you, just take them, stick a piece of old U-came in there to hold them so you don't have to have so much going on here. This one here is going to go down here. Our center section is going to go right here. Make sure it comes down into the V where you want it. All right, that looks good. That one there wants to stay up a little bit. We're just going to take and tap it just a little bit. There we go. Okay, we'll take and put a piece of U-came there. Get us another couple pins here will hold us. This one here is going to go in here. This is going to come across the top here. Next one's going to go in here. That comes down there, and then our last piece is going to go right here. So this will create the pocket for where we're going to put our plant. So we got that all in there where we want it now. Push it down with a little block here. Going to pull these out of here. And now I'm going to take a piece of our this is their RU70 again. It's going to go across the top here, and you notice I made it longer, so it's going to hang over the edges here. It's going to go just like that. So I'm going to get a piece of form wood to go across the back here. Let me grab that real quick. Going to take it in here. I'm going to just take this and I'm going to just tap this just a little bit to make sure everybody's seated down where I want it. Real light now, I'm not hitting it really hard. By the way, this is a ball peen hammer. I actually do have a really leaded glass hammer. It looks like this. It has a plastic end on it. So some people commented the other day, they said, how come you're using a ballpoint hammer? Well, I just happen to have that. Okay, we'll take and pin this. Now we left these long here because we're going to sand this off onto a point so it'll fit into our regular panel when we get it done here. So now we're going to get our solder out. We'll get our soldering iron and we'll cut our solder. So we got our fluxes here. We're going to go ahead and get us our brush. So we're going to just take here, we're just going to brush this down here just a little bit to shine up our joints. So we'll get a good solder joint when we get ready to solder. All right. We're going to take here and now we're going to flux this up here. Okay, take your soldering iron. Here again, we're just going to tin it like that. We can start anywhere we want to here. We'll start right down here at the bottom. And we'll do these right here. So we just solder this all up. Didn't get quite enough flux on this one here. There we go. If your solder doesn't flow real good, you probably, either your lead's dirty or you didn't get enough flux on it to make it flow. We just go right on down here. We'll solder this one back up here. All right, there we go. Now we'll just take and wipe that down a little bit. So we'll turn it over. And in this case now, because this is our end piece here, we're going to solder both sides of this. So we'll turn it over and we'll solder both sides of it. As you can see too here, I was going to put green in these corners. As you see, I decided to use the Zinger color because I had more of that than I did the green. I was afraid I was going to run out of here. So we'll go ahead and I'll turn this over, solder the other side of it. I'll trim it off and I'll come back and show you. Then we'll go ahead and we'll make these little triangles, and then we'll make this little piece here. And so we're going to need two of these, one for each side. So I'll make an identical one to this one. And then when we come back, we'll show you how we're going to put the whole project together. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, we're back here. I got the ends all taken care of now. See, I just took and sanded them down so they completely go off the edge. They're lined up. We're going to leave these open because they're going to go up against the U-came around the down sides, so they'll look just fine. Here's the top to our planter box. And maybe to help you get an idea here, this is one of our longer sides. This is going to go in here just like this. This is where this is going to go. So we'll have the side, then we'll have the front, and there'll be two of these. There'll be one down here also. So anyway, so it's starting to come together. So I'll go offline. I'm going to make one more just like this one. We'll do the little gussets up here, and we'll go way up the top there, and we'll make this piece right here. We'll need two of those. We're going to need four of these. All right, well, we're back now. We got our panels made here. These are the two for the pockets. We got both of them made now, so they came out nice for us. So they're all finished off. They're finished off on both sides. This is the only side that we wanted to keep clean. We didn't solder down this side at all. So anyway, so now we need to make the gussets right here. These guys here, there's four of these. And then we need to make our top piece here. There's two of these. This is going to go in the top. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do those real quick, and then we'll move on. So we're going to use this 45 right here, just like we did before. I already cut some lead came. This is the RU90. This is the little 1/8 inch one. And it's going to sit in here like this. Take two, they're cut on a 45 right here. There's two of them come together like this. You take your glass, insert it in. And then you take this is RU70. We've cut it on a 45 to match up here. So it's going to go in here like this. Push it in tight against that. Bring down a little piece of form wood with blocks. Get a couple pins. And we'll take and we'll pin that. Just like that. So that's going to close that off. We're going to take our stainless steel brush here. We'll brush this down real quick. Here again, we're going to flux it up. And we'll get our soldering iron here. Just going to tin it just a little bit right here. We'll start right here at the bottom. Give it a little bit of solder there, a little bit here. So these are pretty simple to make. Take these out. Take and turn it around. Pull it down. You can block them off here again. Just hold this back. We're taking, hit any oxidation off of them. Give them a little flux. Tin our iron just a little bit. There we go. So now we're taking, just wipe it down just a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go offline on my sandpaper. I'm going to put this on a 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to knock this all down. These areas here that you see open here, we don't care if they're open or not, because when they go onto our panels, the panel is going to go down on the side of it like this. And so that will block that off. So it doesn't make any difference if that's open or not. So I'll be back in 1 second and show you the finished product. All right, so we're back. So here's the finished product now. You can see this coming down here, all in a nice angle here. So when it fits in our 45 like this, it'll make a nice solid connection here without any gaps in it. So we'll go offline. I'll make 3 more of these because we need 4 total. And now we're going to come back on and we'll show you how we're going to do this top part. I've cut a little piece of form wood here with a couple 45s on it. It's going to sit in here like this. And then I've cut some lead for us. Bring these pieces down here. Here again, this is the RU90. It's cut on a 45. That's going to fit in here like this. Going to take a couple down pieces, side pieces. Because this is kind of running into the edge here, I just cut that flat. Going to take a couple here, sit them in here. This one here is going to sit in here like this. Got a little bit, there we go. Sit them in there like that. Then our piece is going to go in here just like this. Push that down. This doesn't look like it's going in here. I talked to you before about this. If this is a little bit tight, you take your fit and just put it in here and spread that open just a little bit. Because this glass we're using has kind of a ripple to it. So get that in here because you want to be sure that this is down tight. There we go. Set that in there. Set this in here. Whoops, got this one upside down. That thing's falling apart here. Here we go. There we go. Slide these down. Okay, now we're going to take a piece of, here again, RU70. It's cut on a 45 here. This piece is going to sit in here like this. Push this down. And I've got a little block of form wood here, right here. This will fit in here like this. Push it down tight. And then over on the side here, I've got my carpenter square back up here to give me a straight edge. And I'm going to use our little blue T-square just to make sure this is square right here. That's what we want right there. So that's perfect. So we'll go ahead now and we'll just take and brush this down. And we're going to go ahead and solder this up. Just like that. Okay, we'll wipe it down a little bit. Take and turn it over. Just give it a pin in the center here. After we get this done, we'll have all of our pieces done. So then we'll get ready to do the final assembly to put it together. So the project will be done then. So that'll look like a pretty nice project for us. We'll find a a plant that we want to put into it, and we'll go from there. On the original drawing, if you remember, I talked about putting a break on this big one here to kind of give it a little more strength, because this is where our top's going to be for our light. So this is going to fit in here like this. So what I want to do with this is I'm going to just run a piece down here, and I'm going to find the middle of it here. So we'll just take our ruler, and we'll mark this where the center of this is. This is 5 1/4, so it'll be 2 1/2 and 1/8. Get my pen to work here. Now I'm going to just take my mechanical square here. I'll give us a little bit of an upline right here. Now, like we've done on some of the other projects, if you're watching my other videos here, because we left this all one piece so to have some strength in it, we're going to take a piece of H9 cane. This is this one here, this H9, and we're going to measure it here. Stick it in here. We're going to measure it. Then we're going to take and trim it. That's a little bit too long. Okay, when you get it really close to fitting in there, what we're going to do now, obviously there's no way to get that in there. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our lead dikes and we're going to come down here in the heart of it, and we're going to trim the heart out of it. And that leaves us just the crown part right here. And that we're going to sit in here. It's still a little bit too long. Just going to trim it just a little bit. Sit that in here. Still, that's going to work right there. I'm going to push it in here so it's nice and straight. I'm going to put our form wood back in here to hold it down tight so it doesn't get a bow in it. I'm just going to take and brush this down. And we'll take and we'll solder that real quick, and that way it will get some strength out of that, and it kind of breaks up that piece being so big. There you go. So that kind of makes it look like we made 2 pieces out of that when it's really only 1. So that works out pretty nice. Okay, I'll go offline real quick. I'm going to put this on the 80 grit sandpaper here. I'm going to finish up these edges right here. I'll make one more exactly like this. And then when we come back, we'll get ready to do our final assembly. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back here. So we got the edges all cleaned up here now. As you can see, I just filed right across here, or sanded right across here. Here again, this open end doesn't matter because we're going to close it off on the top. So on the up here at the top on our panel here, this is going to go in here like this. And that'll start to make the top part of this. The other leg will be on this side over here. And since this is going to be soldered onto to this down piece right here, you'll never see that it has an opening in it. And that's how that's going to go in there, right like that. So anyway, when we get this all put together, it'll make some more sense. So we'll set this on a 45 when we get ready to put this all together, so we get our true look here. So we'll go ahead and finish up making one more of those, and we'll do 3 more of the triangles, and when we come back, we'll get ready to put it together. Okay, I'm back now. We got our 2 top pieces made here now, and we've got them all cleaned up and so forth. But before we move on to the final assembly on this project, there's a couple of really important things we need to do. One, we need something to put in here so that our solar light doesn't fall through. So the solar light's going to sit right here like this. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a little cleat down here, and I'll show you how we're going to do that real quick. We're going to use a couple of little pieces of this RU90, and we're going to put the smooth side down like that. And we're just going to take this up against a backstop here. I'm going to push this in here just like that. We're just going to kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to push in a, you know what I'll do? I'll turn this way so it kind of, so you'll be able to see what we're doing. I'm going to just push this in here this way. Push that up tight. Take and stick a pin in here like that. And then we're going to take right here. And we'll take and flux it. Then I'm going to take my soldering iron. I'm going to tin it right here. I'm just going to set it right in here and let it flow off. Just like that. And I'm going to come down here at the other end and do the same thing. Just put it in here. Yep. Lost my solder. There it goes. Just like that. So that gives us a cleat to hold our solar light in there now. So if you don't put that in there, so I want it to come out flat just like that. So see how it's sitting here now? So now the solar light, when it's in our project, it'll sit on this little cleat right here. So it doesn't fall through our project. I will probably make a little metal shelf to go on here. We'll cut a hole in it for the light to come through. That way we'll have a little bit of room in case this wants to move around in the top there. So I'll go ahead and do that on the other one too. Be sure to put this on the back side though, not on the pretty side here, because if you don't, the cleat will be on the front of our project and that's not going to work for us. So anyway, I'll go ahead and do the other one. And then when I come back, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to do a final assembly on the project. Okay, I want to come back on here really quick. I want to show you on our cleat here, I took and cut that sharp edge off down to a 45 here. Then I put them on our 80 grit sandpaper and just smoothed them down so they're not hanging down or not sticking down. So here's both of them right here. So if you can visualize how this is going to work, these two are going to be in here like this, supporting the sides of our project. So they'll be sitting here. We'll have a little tray in here, and the solar light, see how close I guess that, the solar light will sit in here like this. And those little cleats there will hold our tray so that the solar light can't fall through there. So that's how that's all going to go together. Here again, lots of moving pieces, so it gets a little bit complicated. But when we start to put it together, you'll see how the finished product's going to turn out. So we'll be back in a minute, and we'll get ready to put it together. Okay, well, we're back. We got all our pieces made now. So this is for the top section. This is for the two going down here and across the top here. And to put this together, it's a little bit tricky. So take your time when you're doing this and make sure you get it lined up. The first thing we're going to do is we cut a small piece of our form wood with two 45s on it. And they match up to the width of the where the solar panel is going to go. And that's going to go right in here. Make sure it sits in here straight, just like that. This one here is going to go up here like this. It's going to go in here. And then this piece right here, be sure you have your cleat facing inward. All the pretty sides are facing down. This one here sits in here like this. And I'm going to push it in really tight. And I'm going to put a couple pins right here. Okay, so that's holding that one. Okay, now this one here, pretty side's going to be out. Make sure you have no edges that are sticking out here. This one's going to slide down in here like this. It's going to kiss right here. You can put a little piece of form wood here if you want to hold it. I would recommend doing that so it doesn't get away from you. And we'll take the other one here again. Make sure you got all the edges smooth here. This one's going to go down right down here. It's going to slide in here. And they're going to kiss right here. They're going to touch that. Okay, we'll put another piece of form wood right here to get that, to keep it from moving away from us. This is my least favorite way to solder because I don't like to solder on the vertical, but in this case, in order to keep all this stuff lined up, this is the easiest way to do it. Okay, so now that we've got these in here, I'm going to take our little clips that I made. These are the ones from the paper clips. These little fingers are normally rolled over on the back side here. I just took a pair of pliers and pulled them back over to create these little fingers right here. So the little fingers now, we're going to take them and we're going to set them on in the grooves on our U-came here. This is a little tricky to do, so you got to take some time with it. Line this up where you want it. There you go. You want these two edges right here to just be kissing each other. You can kind of check it down the inside here to see where it's at as far as being straight. I'm going to go over here and look at it right here. That looks good. Check our alignment down here on our triangle that's going in here, or our end piece here. Make sure it's lined up with the points. And then what we can do, we can take and we're going to solder it right here, and then we're going to take and we're going to solder one right in the middle here on both of these. So this is a little bit tricky. So take and flux it here. Just like that. And now you take your iron, make sure the edges of it are nice and clean. So I want to be sure this is nice and clean on the edges. And I'm going to take and I'm going to put a little bit of solder right on the edge here. Hopefully. And then I'm going to set it right in here. I'm just going to solder it really, really light. I can finish soldering it once I get it all put together the way I want it. I'm going to come over on the other side. One right there. I'm going to come down here to these points right here. Here again, now I can just put it on the edge like this. I'm going to take it. Solder it right there. And we'll take it over here. And we'll solder it right there. Very good. Okay, so now we can take this all apart. Pull these pins out. Pull this apart. And that gives us our top to our project right here. So you can see here how this fits in here now. So that fits in really well. What we're going to do, we're going to turn this over like this. Push it back into our form here. Probably can't see that because this one's covering over. I tell you what I'll do. I'll go get my wife. We'll bring the camera down and we'll look in here so you can see what we're doing, because it's pretty critical that we get this next piece down in here lined up properly. So I'll get her out here to give us a hand, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, well, I got my wife out here real quick here to take and help me shoot this video here. So here's our project. I turned it around now. So this second one here again, pretty side down, is going to go in here, and we're going to push it in tight. We'll get us a little piece of form wood here. Well, I can just push it in with some pins. We're going to push it in nice and tight. And I'm going to take and pin it down here. I know this is probably kind of blocking the camera, but that's how it's going to go. So that one comes up here against here, in here, and in here. And what we're going to do, we're going to come inside here, and I'm going to just take and solder this real lightly right here and right here. I'll try to do this and stay out of it. I'm just taking tin my iron just a little bit. And I'm going to go right here. Just to tin this right in here. Okay. And then I'm going to come over on this side here. I'll just switch over to the left hand here. And we're going to come in right here. Here again, tin my iron. It's going to go right up against here. There we go. So that'll get us started with our ends here. When I do that, the next thing I'll do is I'll straighten these up right here. And I'm going to solder them right here at these 2 points right here. I'll solder them down at these 2 points here. We've got our little gussets right here to hold our shelf for our solar light. And our solar light's going to fit in here like this. So we're on our way to getting this done now. So we'll go ahead and pull this out real quick. And you can take a look at it. So this is our top to our project right here. So I guess shows you how that's going to work. So now what I'll do is I'll take and I'll turn it over here, and I'll go ahead and prop this up right here. Take just like a little box, and I'll prop it up a little bit longer than that. I'll prop it up and solder these on, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start to make the other two, and then we'll solder those together down here. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, well, we're back. So now we've got our whole project all taken care of. We got it all cleaned here now. I washed it all down with Dawn soap here, and we got all of our edges taken care of. We took and soldered these joints right here and right here, right here and right here. Down in here, I kind of filled that in solid on both sides. This is where our hangers are going to go. And what we're going to do is we'll come right here. We're going to drill a series of little holes here on both sides, and we're going to use our cotter pin hangers again. We'll flatten out the edges and we'll push them up through the hole. Then we'll turn them over and we'll solder them in here so that they can't come out. So it's coming out really well. I did have one little issue on this piece right here. After I keep telling you to don't solder the inside edges here like this, I only had soldered one side of it, and then I turn around and put the one side that I did solder down here. So I had to kind of rework that just a little bit. But so keep an eye on that so it doesn't push away. You don't want any big gaps running along in these areas right here. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to put the other two together. And we're going to do those, now we're going to do those a little different because they don't have a hole in the top of them. So what we're going to do with those is we'll put them on our 90-degree little form that we have. And we'll take and we'll put them to line up like this, and then when we turn them on point, they'll be on a 45. So we'll be back in a second. I'll get my wife back to give us a hand with those. The other thing you want to do after you get this all together, take it and slide it into your 45 here and make sure that it fits nice and snug, which it does. So it's coming along really well, and we'll be back in a minute. We'll get the other bottom part on here, and we'll go from there. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. Now we're going to take these two panels here again, the unsoldered side down, and we're going to put them in this little jig right here. This just pushes back in. We got a 90-degree corner right here. We've used this on the spinners and some other things. Back here, I'm going to just take a piece of form wood, push it in tight like this, and then this one here is going to sit on our little ledge here, which represents the thickness of our cane. That makes these two little edges here just kiss each other. And we're going to take and we're going to flux it. Here again, we're not going to solder this really tight because we don't want to do it down in these edges here because our other piece is going to go down inside here. So we don't want to solder that up until we get it fitted in there. So I'm just going to take my iron here. I'm going to tin it, push this down nice and tight. Put a joint right there. Put one right here in the middle. And then we'll come down here to the end, but not all the way to the end. Okay, that's all there is to that one. So that's the easy end to do it. We did the hard end already. So when it's done, it creates an area like this. So that gives us our project all done. So now over here, this will fit in here like this. Take this one out. This is going to fit down in here like this. This piece here will go over here. And when we get ready to put this together, we'll come back and use this jig here, and we'll solder these two together. But down here, with pretty side down, we'll come in here, and we're going to put the unit right here. Get my wife to come over here and give us a little pan shot how that's going to look. Okay, so we're back now. We've got our top part all done here. So that came out nice for us. We've got our cleats here. The only thing we have left to do there, I've marked it here. We're going to put on our hangers. We're going to put two of them hanging right here to hold this up. So now we're going to take this bottom part that we put together. You notice we didn't solder here or here, so that the base plate, which is this one here, is going to fit down inside that. So we're going to come back to our 45 right here. We're going to set it in here. Then we're going to take it here again, make the good side or the pretty side of the glass down. We're going to push it all the way in here tight. We're going to push it up against our 45 in the back here so it fits without any gaps. We're going to take a piece of our form wood here, and we're going to take a couple pins and we're going to pin it back here tight like that. And this is why we didn't solder along these edges, like all of these along here where they touch here. If you would have soldered them, they would push it out and you'll get all these gaps in here. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is that we'll come in here and we'll solder this in about 3 or 4 places here just to hold it in there. And then I'll come back. We're going to solder it in the tips here on both sides. And then we'll be done with that part of it. And then we'll marry the two parts together. Like I said before, the two parts will marry together like this to make our final planter box or our final terrarium. Our solar light goes in the top. We'll plant our real plants in here, and we'll be ready to go. So we're going to just take this, and we're going to flux it up right here, just a little bit here and here. We'll come over here, right there. And we're just going to take our soldering iron. Make sure this is pushed down tight, down to your work table, and this is down tight. Just take and tin your iron, just a little bit. And we're going to set it right in here. Just like that. And we're going to come right here. Solder it in tight. Then we're going to come around. I'm going to change hands here a little bit. So this is a little tricky. This isn't near as tricky to do if you're not filming this, because you'll have free range to get in the way of anything here. So we're going to tin our iron. Going to set it in here. Try to get out of the way. Here we go. Not very good left-handed here. Get it down in here. All right, very good. So that's what we wanted to do right there. Now I can take and turn it around, and I can solder back in here, make it a little bit easier. But this will be the way this is going to work. Now we can take this out, and now we've got our first plate in here. This is what you're looking for right here. You want this to be nice and smooth all the way around here, and you don't want to have any big gaps in here. So I'll go offline. I'll put the other one in up here. After I solder this one in here, I'll solder here at the top, here along here again, and I'll solder one right down here in the corner. This is a little bit springy, so I'll push it down when I solder it to be sure that it's down all the way. If you feel right here it has a little bit of indentation, I'll push this out so it's flush all the way around. So after we're done with that, I'll come back. We're going to show you how to put the hanger together, and then we'll come back and we'll put them all together to make our final terrarium. Then we'll drop in our corner pieces in here, the project will be all done. Like we've done it with the other ones, I'm going to take and I'll do this offline. I'll take and Pantene it, get it all shined up, and when we come back, we'll have it all planted with our live plant in here. Our solar light will be in the top, and we'll hang it up in the patio, and we'll get some pictures of it, and the project to be done. So I know there's a lot of moving parts here, and the project's taken a long time to make, but it's worthwhile after you get it all done. So I'll be back in a little while. All right, well, we're back. I got the other side put in here now. So here's how they came out. This is what you're looking for. You want it to be nice and tight down both sides here. You don't want any big gaps in it. No gaps down here with no bleed through. So this part of the project's all done. So that came out very nice. It's been soldered here on the points. So that just gives you a little bit more strength. We're going to put real plants in here. So down at the bottom here, I left a couple areas open so we have a little bit of drainage. So that's that part. That part is all done. So set it aside for right now. And we'll bring in our top piece here. And this piece here, right here, we need to do a couple things to it. One, we're going to put two hangers, one here and one here. The way we're going to do that, we're going to drill a series of holes. We're going to drill 3 small, 3 30-second holes here. And we're going to take our cotter pins. This again is a 3 30-second steel zinc plated cotter pin. And we're going to push them up through the holes that we drill here. We'll drill it just wide enough so that this will push through. And we're going to spread these legs out to go along this area underneath here, and then we'll solder them in. So to do the cotter pins, I want to leave a little bit of room on this before our loop starts. So I'm going to take my long nose pliers here. I'm going to leave it about maybe 3 30-seconds to 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to hold it just like this. And I'm going to take my little brass tubing here, and I'm going to pull this out to a 90 degree like this. Just a little bit more there. Whoops. There we go. So what that does is that increases the neck here. So when it comes through, it'll be sticking up just a little bit. And so this will be soldered in on the back side here, up underneath here. So we'll do 2 of these like this. And we'll go ahead and drill a series of holes here. Now, you need some way to support this because you don't want to be pushing down on this because that'll make this spread out. And when we get ready to put it onto our other half, it'll be spread out too far. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to bring in my jig that I use for the spinners, which I can raise this up and let this rest on it. So we'll bring that in real quick. It's not very pretty, but it does the job. So we'll bring that over here real quick. So we'll set that right here. Now I can rest this on here and I can push down on it without worrying that I'm going to change the spread on this. So we're going to take our just our regular portable drill. It's got a 3 30-second bit in it. And I'm going to set this on an angle right here. Going to drill right through it. Now I'm going to move right next to it. I'm going to drill another one. Go right next to it. And then I'm going to come over on this side. I'm going to drill one more. Then I'm going to take my drill and I'm just going to move it back and forth here and open that up into a slot. Got it slotted open now. Take our little stainless steel brush here and we'll brush that open or clear. Get all those little flakes out of there. So now if you look really close here, you can see that we made a little oblong hole right there. And what we're going to do now, we're going to take our cotter pin here. We're going to turn this over. Okay, we're going to have to trim the ends on this a little bit. So just going to use my long nose pliers here. Most all long nose pliers have a side cutter on them. So I'm going to just take off about maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. a 1/4 inch here. So that I've got room that this will fit in there, which it does now. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, I'm going to set this cotter pin in here. This is kind of awkward to do with a camera here. Let's see how I can do this. I'm going to set that in there just like this, and here we'll take and solder this down along these legs right here. Maybe we'll bend another one and leave it a little bit longer. Let me go off camera real quick and I'll bend one. We'll leave it about a 1/4 inch longer than that, or maybe about a 1/4 inch. So we'll pull that out. So I'll take and drop this down maybe another 1/8 inch so that this will protrude through our cane just enough so we'll have more room to put our chain on. So I'll be back in a second. Let me bend another one. All right, I'm back. So I took and bent us another one. This is the first one we did right here with the kick up on it. So you can see here I've increased the length between the loop and our fold out here I just increased that much more. So that'll raise our loop up a little bit higher. So now we'll take this and we'll insert it. Here again, we'll just take this upside down and we'll take and insert it in here. It's going to sit in there just like that. These legs will be soldered down so it can't get out. Just like that. This leg here is a little bit long right there. We'll trim these back just a little bit. We want them to sit flat on there. So I'm just using the side cutters on my long nose pliers to cut that down. Okay, so this will sit in here like this. I'll get this straightened up right like that. So anyway, this will be our hanger. We'll have one here and one here. We'll have a chain that goes into maybe 4 inches, 5 inches long, that goes into a split ring with a spinner on it, or with a swivel on it, and then we'll go on to a chain to hang it with. So that's how we're going to put that in there. So you don't want to forget to put that in there before you get it all together, because otherwise it'll be pretty hard to solder. So it'll just be turned over here. Like I say, we'll take and solder this down here, right in. I'll get it lined up where it's supposed to go, and we'll solder it right into the top of this ridge right here. So that just pops in there like that. So I'll be go offline. I'll take and drill another set of holes on this side here. I already marked where they are at, and I'll bend up another cotter pin. When we come back, we'll have them both of them soldered in, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put in our light plate for which will hold our solar light. And then we'll just go ahead and we'll marry the two halves together, put in our little corner pieces, and the project will be done. We'll get it all cleaned up and put a chain on it, get it planted, and we'll show it to you. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back. We got our hangers all in here. I soldered around them here. On the back side here, you can see we just took and soldered on each end right in the center on both of them. So they're not going to be coming out of there anytime soon. So now we need to put our plate in here to hold our solar light. So I've already made one here. This is made out of a galvanized tin. This is the material you find at the hardware store over by the air ducting and all that type of thing, the galvanized piping. It's quite thin, but it works great for you. I just used a hole saw, drilled a 1-inch hole in it, just rounded the edges here a little bit. And this is going to go right in here to hold this up. But so I made it long enough. I can just set it on the edge here. I can bring it down in here like this. And I can either glue it to these little tabs, or I could solder it real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and solder it. And what I'm going to do here, I need to push this up off of here somehow. So I use a lot of little jigs and so forth. So this little box right here, I'm going to set it right here. Then we're going to set in our tray, And I'm just going to set this over our box. Then I can center this exactly where I want it. Put it in the center right here. That looks pretty good right there. I'm just going to do just one little spot solder right here and right here. So I'm just going to take this, going to flex it here and flex it right here. Take our iron. Just going to take it, put a little bit of iron on it right here. There we go. I'll do the same thing here. Just put a little bit of solder on it. There we go. That's all we need to do that. It's not too difficult. Just wipe it down. So now we turn this over. Now when we put our solar panel in here, it sits down in here. We don't have any issue with it there. So we got our hangers on, we got that on. So the next step will be to put the two halves together. And we'll come back and do that in just a minute. The project's going to sit together like this. It's going to come down here on the sides just like that. And that'll complete our whole project. So as soon as we get these sides soldered in, we'll come back and we'll insert our corner pieces here, and the project will be done. Like I said, my wife suggested not to Pantene this one, so we won't. So we'll just leave it natural, and as it oxidizes, it'll turn kind of a gray color. So we'll be back after we get these two done. I'll show you how we're going to do them, and we'll be back in a minute. My wife came out to give me a hand here. She's going to film this for us. So we're going to put it back in this little jig here with our little 3/16 step on it for the corners here. This is the first panel. I took a couple blocks on the back here, and I've got it pushed up here. So now this one here is going to go right in here. And it's going to just kiss the corners on this, just like that. Make sure it's back up against here. We're going to hold it here. We're going to take and flux it, just like that. And I'm going to put one spot solder right in the middle. And I'll turn it over and we'll do the other side. And then I'm going to come back and I'll solder it up tight when we get our triangles in there to be sure that it's square. So I'm just going to tin this for my iron. I'm going to push this down tight. I'm going to set that right here. Just like that. You want to be careful. It's a little bit fragile right now, so take this and we're going to turn this around just like this. This one here is going to go up against there. Make sure you're up all the way against this so that you don't have an angle that's not lined up. We're going to take and pin the back of it so it stays up tight. Okay, push it all the way over. See that move there a little bit? Want to be sure it's over there flush. Okay, that looks good. Here again, I'm just going to spot solder it right in the middle. Go push it down nice and tight. Just like that. One of the advantages of a spot soldering just real light before you solder it really heavy is that for some reason, if it doesn't line up like you like it, it's a lot easier to get it apart than if I solder all the way across here, and then you've got a real issue on your hands. So that's how we're going to do that. So now, here's our project all together. So now, this will be our hanging terrarium. This is the areas you're looking for when you solder. You want these areas to be clean across here. You don't want to have gaps and let it bleed through here. what usually happens, that's why we didn't solder the inside of this down here, so that these can come together. So that's the area that you're looking for here. Here's the other side here, so you can see that we got a nice gap. This little edge that you see here, this 3/16 edge, that takes up the gap right here, so that just the front edges of these kits. So that's what we're going to do. Here's our project. So next time you see it, we're going to have it all cleaned up. We're going to have our corners in here. I'll take these guys and put them in. Here again, make sure you got the pretty side out. These corners are going to fit in here like this. So we'll have 4 of them in each corner. And they'll add some stiffness to this so that it doesn't flex or bend on us. And the project will be all done. So hopefully you've been following along. And if you watch the video, I know it's going to be pretty long. If you got any comments, send me a comment and I'll send you a reply back. It's a fun project to do. There are lots of pieces. I know this video ran really long, but without it running long, I don't want to leave anybody stranded on where do we go and what do we do to get all these steps done. So we'll be back and have it all hung up outside in the patio. We'll have it all planted, have our light in it, and we'll see how our project looks. All right, well, we're back. We got it all together now. So we're just, the last step we're going to do is we're going to put in our little corner pieces here now. I have a backstop that I've made here. So we're just going to set this up against the backstop. We're going to take and push this in tight. We're going to take and pin it here. And we're going to take our first triangle here with the pretty side out. And it sticks and goes right in here. Just like that. We're going to take and flux this just a little bit. Come over here and flux it right here. I'm going to take our iron. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to tin it. I'm going to hold this down tight and come right to this joint right here. Take and solder it just like that. Then we're going to take this out. Going to rotate it around just like that. Push it in tight again here. Push that in tight. We're going to take and flux it right here. Going to take our iron again. Going to tin it. Hold this in tight and hold it down. And we're going to solder it right like that. Okay. So that's all there is to that. We'll put them on the other sides here. And then when we're done with it, we'll get it all planted up. So this is how it's going to look for us here. Right here. This is the area right here. We want to be sure it's in tight here. Got no gaps. We'll also come down inside right here at this point right here. Right in this point right here, we'll put a solder joint right there also. So that's all there is to that. So the next time you see this, we're going to be hanging out on the patio with some flowers or something planted in here. We'll have our solar light on the top and our chain on it, and we'll be all done with the project. So appreciate my wife helping us out. So thank you, wife.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see you on the next one. All right, here's the project. We got it all done now, so real happy with the outcome of it. We got it all planted. So anyway, hope you followed along on this one, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I hope you will. Have any comments, send them to me. I'll be glad to send you a reply, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay, so it's gotten dark now, so I just wanted to give you a little shot of how it looks. It came out how I had hoped, so it's lighting up the plants real nice. And so I hope you followed along and have enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.